My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft.
It's 2:26 a.m. and that's the entity stalking by a commercial plane, basing its stalking conduct at the position where I am at the amphitheater at the Ontario Town Square. And the entity is engaging in stalking at 2:26. There are no flights that are scheduled to depart from the airport. Moreover, that are typically scheduled to depart from the airport. Let alone departing from the airport and then hovering over the Ontario Town Square, where I am standing and just recording so that you can hear the ongoing criminal monitoring by the Ontario International Airport, the commercial airlines that are gang stalking. And they're doing so while the people of the state are not sleeping at 2:26 a.m. because the government is stalking in concert with the people who are engaging in 24-hour surveillance along with that government that tells on the people of the state, while the entity is maintaining that aerial surveillance, which is the component to what is ongoing surveillance that surrounds me in that environment in concert with the people. It's 2:28 a.m. and it's Tuesday, February 17, 2026. This is the unintelligent pattern of engaging in more, because there's definitely more flights departing from the airport at 2:28 in the morning. While the entity engages in its unintelligent psychopathic behavior, as you discern demons engage in more of that conduct. It happens to be criminal, so the entity is engaging in more and more criminal acts relevant to what are unlawful threats, acting with the intent to obstruct justice, doing so while communicating unlawful threat, doing so while you are engaging in what is the most absurdly psychotic criminal activity, which is going to serve for committing stalkers who are using commercial airline companies and planes as a government system that's engaging in what is criminal surveillance, which is entirely unconstitutional and inhumane while they're demons doing so. The entity is indeed flying over the Metro 102 apartments while the entity is engaging in that, which is also relevant to the case that is serving to not only prosecute, but this is the removal of a terrorist, which is the Ontario International Airport, which is a violent sex offender. They're stalking me at the Stater Brothers, flying over me at the entrance, targeting me specifically, and they're doing so pursuant to what is monitoring my vagina. And that's an unprecedented basis over and above what is required, as no one has ever had to establish before, that an airport is stalking, and that this is a basis to shut down that airport as a matter of protection to the American public. But nonetheless, this is where we're at, and monitoring my vagina shall be the truth regarding the humiliating demise of the terrorists who are stalking me in Ontario, California, which is the state of California's criminal pattern of conduct. It's 2:29 a.m. where the entity is stalking me obsessively. Obsession is what you're getting from the airport stalking using commercial planes, all that money that's entailed in that. All of those people who are up paying attention to me, obsessed with me, stalking me, and doing so at 2 in the morning, and doing so in the most expensive manner possible. That's relevant to mental illness of this population that is indeed engaged in targeting. P.O.C.
Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes, and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C., and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state.
I just want you to see the entity that's stalking by a plane and doing so repeatedly. And this is the entity that's doing so. It's 2:48 a.m. And this is at about about every 3 minutes right now. Every 3 minutes flying right here by commercial plane. The people of the state are stalking. That's stalking and going north and south on Euclid Avenue, doing so at the Ontario Town Square. And they're doing so on this side of the square, okay? The opposite side, usually when I'm over there, they're flying right here over this field, flying in this direction. They're stalking, and they're also stalking while there's no flights. The entity's engaging in more stalking as psychopaths who are demon-possessed, while I am documenting the fact that they're stalking at 2 o'clock in the morning. So the terrorists engage in more of that conduct as I document that, okay? That's relevant to what I documented by podcast. So I want to document that. I got a video because this is what I'm documenting. The entity engages in more stalking, so I'm capturing video. This is what the entity is doing about every 3 minutes, another plane. Right here at the while I'm under the amphitheater, stalking by flight, right here, serial flight, every 3 minutes right here. This is P.O.C. This is Metro 102, the city's senior apartments. This is senior citizens. These demons are stalking. The people of the state are stalking. They're stalking with the airport that's maintaining aerial flight. You already know the impossible light that you saw in the previous video, the train activity. They're stalking together. This is why I go through and I document hundreds of license plates. They are engaging in that pattern of conduct, and the population is going to be published for the public to be able to identify those who are terrorists, who are gang stalking. Union Pacific is being prosecuted. They're stalking right now while you hear that train competing with my voice. And these are stalkers roaming through, stalking with the city of Ontario, who indeed are not asleep. So they're capturing, engaging in that P.O.C. When I'm speaking to, they're not asleep. While you're stalking with planes, they're not asleep while they're on video gang stalking on the roads and the highways with the airport at 2 in the morning, every 3 minutes. And the entities engaging in what is stalking, that's an ongoing public nuisance while they're using the train, while demons are pacing around me stalking. They're monitoring. Okay, this is criminal monitoring that the city of Ontario is engaging in. Michael GERKEN, Mike LORENZ, Alan D. WAPNER, the entity that's engaging in what is stalking as a means of a citywide effort. This isn't traffic, it's surveillance. All right, this is P.O.C. It is currently 2:50 a.m. And this is the entity that's engaging. Play the tape back, and you hear that ongoing exaggerated train activity. Now it's sounding over here. There's only one train. Now it's sounding over here. The entity is engaging in what is as the audible activity is relevant to the mental illness of the entity. It's not even based on a train. There's no train that was over here, and this is where the sound was coming from. This is amplification, and it's noise while demons are pacing all around, including in the sky space, okay? And this is the environment that they're doing it in. I want you to see I have multiple shadows. This is the purpose of maintaining that environment. And the people of the state are being prosecuted. Gang stalking apartment complexes. The entirety of the properties are engaging in that pattern of conduct. That's Sarah's Regis Group, that's City Senior, John Stewart property, and Metro 102 apartments. They're engaging in that pattern of conduct together as a population. And that's just where I'm at right now. But I just want to be clear on that. That's all that's entailed in the airport stalking. Every 3 minutes, another plane. All right, the people of the state are engaging in 24-hour surveillance, and they are together as an entity monitoring my vagina, stalking from place to place. P.O.C. All right, this is ongoing audio evidence regarding stalking by the Ontario International Airport. I'm located at 235 Laurel, the Cedar Point Chiropractic Group, where the entity is stalking by commercial planes as I'm walking through the neighborhood, which is speaking to the people of the state stalking. And this is how, under the law, the people of the state will be prosecuted for gang stalking. This is terrorism, criminal surveillance, where you live and where you're engaging in criminal surveillance with the government. You are stalking. The entities engaging in what is the pattern of conduct, which is the state's pattern of conduct that's maintaining surveillance where the people of the state live. And the people of the state are being prosecuted while the government's engaging in surveillance in concert with them where they reside, where the government maintains no warrant of probable cause. The government also has no warrant of probable cause to engage in surveillance via the Ontario International Airport. The entities engaging in what is the criminal activity of federal group stalking and monitoring in concert with the people of the state cannot do it. It is not engaging in it without the people of the state. And they're also doing it in the specific environment where you will also be prosecuted for stalking where you live, where you work. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 5:13 p.m. a.m. There is no such thing, in other words, in the specific environment, which is where surveillance is underway. There is no such thing as belonging in that specific environment. There's no such thing as private property in the specific environment. There's no such thing as private speech, private conduct in the specific environment. It's where the entity is maintaining the public entity, the government, that is not a private actor, that does not maintain private property, that is not engaging in what is private speech as an individual under the Constitution, nor shall the government enjoy and exploit, rather, those constitutional protections of American citizens while it is gang stalking via the people of the state. Okay, so this is the government, and the government is going to be treated as the government that it is, gang stalking via the people. And that's breaking down the malicious pattern of conduct. And that's relevant to the airport stalking me at 235 Laurel while I'm walking through the neighborhood, and the entity is sounding plane activity. And they're doing that at 5 o'clock in the morning All right, and the entities engaging in that with regard to ongoing stalking as an airport, while the people of the state are going to be prosecuted everywhere at all times, while the government is stalking everywhere at all times via the people of the state. This is P.O.C. That's an unlawful threat that the people of the state share. They share in communicating that threat, and they're going to be federally prosecuted for it. It is currently, again, like I stated, 5:14 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, the POC is underway by my non-English speaking amigos who are very much engaged in criminal monitoring with those who speak only 100% English and don't even understand Spanish. You're dealing with a spirit that is monitoring you in the exact same highly demonic and efficient manner, stalking you with noise, stalking in the path, maliciously targeting, and they are not able to speak the English language. This is the pattern of conduct underway in the state of California. License 9 Robert Frank Jerry 379. And like I told you, and this is the reality, demon possession is relevant to what is physically invisible. It is relevant to what is also malicious with that invisible nature of the pattern of conduct that's present in the environment. The environment is demonic. And that invisible feature is made visible to you with the fake sun, with the engineered light, with the reality of what everyone in that environment is engaging in. And all they're doing is going around and around in circles. They're pacing. They're mentally ill while they're all stalking. They're all stalking on behalf of the government. These are demons that are monitoring. All right, and they're monitoring your movement. They're monitoring your speech that they don't even understand in the physical because they're demon possessed. Satan does not have any linguistic barriers. Satan does not have a race or a heritage. Satan doesn't have an age or an income bracket. Okay, this is an entity that's engaging in that, and my non-English speaking amigos are gang stalking inside of the laundry room. They're doing so on behalf of the government. That sounds very foolishly. This is why they're being deported. If they are not natural born citizens, and this is going to apply uniformly, whatever your background is. If you are not a natural born citizen, be prepared to be deported. It is terrorism, and it is an existing basis to deport you as an enemy of this country as well. The entities engage in this pattern of conduct while amplifying plane activity, which you already know because I have Coin Laundry gang stalking me with Southwest Airlines under the fake sun, not a private property, engaging in stalking by the population, maintaining impossible light, all manner of the POC. It's just sitting on the record. This is the pattern of conduct. That's 5:56 a.m. Pay attention. And this is the government that's engaging in what is testifying against its own co-defendant, and the entity is going to be federally prosecuted. The people are being pitted against the state, who are gang stalking American citizens together, and they will be prosecuted accordingly. License 7P48492, stalking. Miss Donuts is stalking. All the people of the state are going inside of Miss Donuts and making purchases, and they are gang stalking and doing so while the state sounds plane activity. You're talking about the ability for the feds to come in and literally maintain an ongoing raid and prosecute right now, with your knowledge of what it is the government is doing and the federal government's jurisdiction. License plate, the federal government that's not a gang stalker. Okay, and that's what's happening. It's going to be a cleansing in the United States. License 5, Xavier Queen Nancy 154, 8 Wendy Jerry Hall, Henry 787, POC. It's 5:57 p.m. 6 Frank Larry Kelly 666 is gang stalking, aiming light into the store, parked at the front entrance, the only entrance. Stater Brothers has intentionally made only one entrance into the store, by the way. They're doing so while I'm exiting on surveillance camera, and the entity is simultaneously stalking in the path by plane. This is a male operating a white SUV Toyota, license 6 Frank Larry Kelly 666. The shopping cart, POC. They're pacing in the light formed by this demon that's utilizing a vehicle. The government is engaging in what is threatening my safety. They're psychologically torturing you. They're harassing. They're targeting you while they are engaging in this sort of conduct as you enter and exit venues, and everybody is targeting you together. Stater Brothers is going to be prosecuted. Don Quinones is here gang stalking on surveillance cameras. He's wearing all black. He is gang stalking me with knowledge of the surveillance that is being documented as well. This is relevant to the intent, to the ongoing cruelty regarding the criminal activity of Stater Brothers and facilitating it with the demons that are in their parking lot gang stalking. They're engaging in vagina monitoring as well. POC is currently 6:31 a.m. And I am addressing the surveillance cameras upon my entrance and exit of the venue. License 7 Paul George Xavier 933. License plate. This is Ontario Village Shopping Center. It's not just Stater Brothers. Stater Brothers is the venue I'm inside of. The entire shopping center is gang stalking. All right. And again, it's not exclusive to the shopping center. That's just getting to everybody that when I'm prosecuting, everybody in that shopping center is being prosecuted. License 8 Frank Sam Frank 074. The Ontario International Airport's doing cartwheels. Well, pay attention, listen. License 7 George David Bob 448 is gang stalking. The cartwheel that I captured in images at the same Ontario Village Shopping Center. P.O.C. Serial stalker, license 8 Larry Zebra Robert 360. 41326 Henry 4. And this is the entity using commercial planes and smaller government planes. It's both the City of Ontario. 9 Jerry Larry Bob, I think I read that one. 9 Jerry Larry Bob 367. License plate. My Spanish-speaking amigos inside of the coin laundry are still gang stalking me inside of the shopping center. This is the criminal activity that they are engaged in, while the demon-possessed and the physical and the carnal are feigning, oh, no speak Inglés, but they are monitoring you. They know exactly what you're saying, and they are equally triggered when you speak English and you document them. License 7 Paul George Xavier 933. How about that? How about that? All right, these are demons, and they're going to be federally prosecuted, and they're being deported while they're targeting me with Don Quinones and the Stater Brothers. Kia's in here gang stalking. She's on my receipt with regard to criminal presence in the path while the government is engaging in what is providing to the United States, providing a manual regarding how the United States is engaging in terrorism of American citizens. P.O.C. This is criminal monitoring and furtherance of murder. Remember that. It's 6:33 a.m. I just want to give you a visual. What you hear me speaking of seconds ago on the podcast, this is psychopathic pacing. This is the second cartwheel. This has nothing to do with departures from the airport. This is blatant stalking. That's UPS also. UPS committed murder in Kentucky. Stalking in concert. Stalking coming out the store. They're monitoring. Stalking with light in the parking lot. They're doing this while the engineer light, you know it's not their headlights, and during the day it's not sunlight. This is the P.O.C. And remember when I'm at the back of Don Quinones is in here gang stalking with the employees. That's a terrorist leader. And with the customers. And the business itself, Stater Brothers, is stalking me. And you're going to prosecute us on an unprecedented basis for recovery. When venues, businesses are engaged in the criminal conspiracy to murder you by stalking you, and an establishment is stalking you where that specific environment, where the government is gang stalking you, targeting you. And that's UPS that's feigning a takeoff over Bonita, right here over the shopping center doing a cartwheel. That's exactly what they're doing at the town square, where they are stalking all night. And they're doing this at the Stater Brothers behind this wall right here, monitoring my vagina. They're doing it while stalkers are aiming light into the store where they are targeting as I walk out, which is the conduct of what are sex offenders touching. This is the serial stalker, 8 Yolanda Nancy Charlie 992. This is federal prison. This is P.O.C. 8 Yolanda Nancy Charlie 992. This white woman cannot get enough of me. She's obsessed with my vagina. She's stalking a black woman. This is breaking what are these illusions regarding racism. This is a spirit that's engaging in what is using racism to break people down so that you're not aware of who you are in Christ. Okay, you are a spirit, you are not a race. All right, it's merely a product of the glory of God that we come in multiple beautiful colors. This white woman is stalking me in a grocery store, and she came to participate in it. And the psycho knows that she's being documented. She's going to prison. Okay, that's P.O.C. City of Ontario stalking with light. This is pacing. 6 Victor Edward Zebra 061. While the airport is stalking. That's the City of Ontario dumpster truck. That's the City of Ontario using planes. The entity is engaging what is targeting by raising up in planes right here, like you're landing. Like you're taking off. That's what they're doing at the town square at 2:48 in the morning. This is P.O.C. This is Stater Brothers that they don't have any intentions. Neither do any of the demons that have been fully exposed. They're caught, and so now that they're caught, the world is learning how the United States government terrorizes American citizens and terrorizes those as demons that are monitoring. This is what they're doing to people in other countries. P.O.C. Alrighty, it is currently, by the way, 6:36 a.m. This is a demon that's monitoring. They're not focused on the wall. That's why the government's doing cartwheels over the parking lot. You're getting through the illusions of the demons that are stalking you obsessively. P.O.C. (6:41 a.m.) This is the entity alternating commercial planes and smaller government planes, and they're pacing with these demons in front of me, walking to and from the trash can, walking to and from the entrance with the grocery carts, while the entity's pacing with planes. These demons are in sync. It's not random, and it's all centered around me. All right, license. I already read this other license plate in the video. This third party, I'm going to read her license again. She comes outside. She appears to have equipment associated with working at the venue. Regardless, she's a third party. If it's pursuant to employment, she's being paid, I'm going to prosecute that company. License 7 Paul George X 933. This is a female. She's pacing with the entity that you can hear that plane activity. She is actually pacing, monitoring me, as opposed to just walking to the trash can before she gets in her car and drives off. She's a stalker. All right. She's a demon possessed one. The demons in the sky space are in sync with the demons on the ground around here. And you also know that because of the light activity, the ridiculous clown circus light activity. Relevant to what's wrong in their minds. They're mentally ill. Okay, they're zombies pacing all around me. Demons. It's P.O.C. It's 6:42 a.m. That is Southwest Airlines. That's a demon coming out of the entrance. Shopping cart is a means of noise. They're monitoring together with the government. This is a cult. So the government, these commercial airlines, these are all demons, and these are demons that surround me. They're acting in sync. It's one spirit. Okay? That's Southwest Airlines in particular. The entities engaged in this with regard to my opening my backpack. Every move I make is being monitored, and they're engaging in that conduct using planes. Do you understand how expensive that is? And do you understand how psychotic that is? You're going to prosecute for what is terrorism for being psychotic while you are stalking, and doing so having no authority under the law. And these are companies that are handing themselves over to me. You're giving me your prop. You're giving me your company. You're giving me your, you're losing your freedom. You're giving over what is you're going to be committed. This is everything that the entity that is demon possessed has sacrificed in gang stalking me. All right, and now they're doing it as a matter of evidence, and this is what an entity is doing because they are demon possessed. They are actually consumed. That is going to be treated under the law as mentally ill. It has the same impact. It's the same threat to the public. All right, but their condition specifically is demon possession. You're looking at the fruits of that because their demon possession compels them to continue in the face the federal, let's say federal law. If it was an audience, is watching them. And then going back to convene and creating what are laws to deal with it, while the demon possessed are teaching you what they do and what is needed as a result. In response, the federal government is sitting up an audience watching, and it's going to be responded to, by the way, with martial law. They have shown themselves to be the enemies, the animals that they are, even in the face of exposure, which the demon possessed never wanted to happen, are in the face of everyone, defining how much of a threat that they are. They're doing it themselves. Okay? This is P.O.C. That's the entity that spends a lot of money. You're spending that investment on stalking one little old person? Yeah, it speaks volumes about the one that they sought to criminally defame. I'm this and I'm that, I'm incompetent, but you're spending millions of dollars on stalking me. Very interesting combination of facts, wouldn't you say? They know exactly who I am. With regard to the threat that I pose, exposing what you would not be able to see with your own eyes, with your own level of consciousness. You need someone to peel the veil back for you, and you can see it because it's there. I'm just helping you. Let me point this out to you. Let me point this out to you. Now you see what you're looking at. You know exactly what you're looking at. And then you can psychoanalyze that, because why would you present this way and you're actually engaging in that? And then you're getting into what are not conspiracy theories. You're getting behind the illusion that Satan, who is a spirit, people that are missing the point, people that are speaking to, oh, it's because of this and they want to do that. And it's some ongoing, all these ideas, creative ideas, which may or may not actually be related, but it's missing the core point. And if you do not know Christ, if you're not walking with Christ, if you're not feeling the urgency to get right with Christ Jesus, who is coming back, and he's coming back in judgment. Okay, and woe to you who are unprepared. Woe to you who know where you're going. You know exactly where you're going. Woe to you. They're gang stalking me right now. They know where they're going. This is an entity that's engaging in that, and this is the lost. But there are those who are lost who are going to come to Christ. This is a wake-up call, and it's an act of mercy. Okay? But this is the entity that's defining itself with regard to its stance in this country. And it is stalking as the Ontario International Airport. It is stalking as Southwest Airlines, UPS Airlines. They are going to be permanently landed. They're a threat to the country. You don't even have a right to remain as a company. That's not in the Constitution whatsoever. They have sacrificed everything. You don't have a right to continue that company at all, like at all. You're engaged. I have fully proven you don't have a right to do any of that. That's the entity that's engaged in that. Okay? That's P.O.C. Pacing in concert with this third party. More than one. They're pacing. License 3KCS 310 and 13455 Henry 3, and then the demon is stalking with plane in the sky space. And this is in response. These are psychopaths who think that they're responding. No, Satan's been defeated and they're going to be permanently landed, committed, deported, imprisoned. It is specifically Southwest Airlines, P.O.C. Yeah, the license that I read is an employee. She's a psycho. She's coming out, opening the trunk, closing the doors, walking around. She works in the bakery area. I'll repeat her license plate in a second. She's gang stalking, just like every other employee. Gang stalking, which no business, including Stater Brothers, has any right under the Constitution. Her license is 8 Frank Sam Frank 074. Okay, very mentally disturbed. The entity's engaging in what is activity creation while you're coming out, and this is the entity that's in doing so with regard to when I'm walking down the street and you're already in your car in front of me, and the demons are flying over me by plane, and there you are with your headlights on, stalking in the path. This is an entity that's maintaining that ongoing ritual over and over again, and people are prepared to share in that pattern of conduct. It's not traffic, it's surveillance. It's not the job schedule, work schedule, it's surveillance. It's not a grocery store, it's a veil for surveillance. And it is where the mentally ill engage in this conduct. Excuse me. And so the entities engaging in that conduct, what you just heard right now, the demon possessed are triggered because they don't have authority and they're listening to me tell them about the lack of authority, thus more criminal conduct, thus more consequences. The entity, they are relegated to a position of inferiority, but you need to understand the threat that that is to the public. You're still going to prison while you're engaging in what is kicking and screaming and creating more damages. You're going to prison, and you're going to go to prison with regard to your inability to pay restitution for the damages that you're still going to federal prison. That's what you're witnessing. The demon-possessed that are defiant, but the demon-possessed don't get a vote. You don't have any authority. You don't literally have any authority under the laws that you are abusing. They don't have any spiritual authority. They're being told about what's going to happen, and they're still gang stalking while they do that, and there's going to be repercussions in the physical for that as well. That's what you're witnessing. I'm going to drag Southwest Airlines. They are the ghetto of airline companies in the first place, so I intend for them to no longer exist. It is currently 6:52 a.m. This is Stater Brothers gang stalking with the commercial airlines, gang stalking me in furtherance of murder with the Stater Brothers, with the Ontario Village Shopping Center, doing so with impunity, with the intent to obstruct justice, while they're violent sex offenders continuously keeping my vagina under surveillance and repeating that sex offense in furtherance of murder. They listen to my documentation and they repeat the group sex violence again. They listen to my documentation. They repeat that ongoing threatening conduct, ambush behavior as I enter, ambush behavior as I exit this venue. As a customer, it's a federal RICO case. This is the entity that has, again, sacrificed itself, because this is a disastrous destruction in a courtroom. It's already over. They're in my courtroom now. This is going to be formally addressed in the walls of a tribunal. It's already over, though. It's already over. P.O.C., it's 6:53 a.m. All right, serial stalkers such as third-party license 8 Yolanda Nancy Charlie 992. She hurries up and comes back to the parking lot while I'm in the store. She's engaging in what is studying her device. Remember, I told you it's demonic, including their devices, while demons stare at them, stalking in a grocery store. She's very severely mentally ill, and she's coming to the grocery store to stalk another person, and she's doing so while the entity is sounding plain activity. While a sex offender, she is a homosexual, not a closeted one. So she's engaging in what is a sexual touching as an entity while the entity is stalking by plane. You're listening to the ongoing documentation of the airport stalking me, and so is serial stalker 8 Yolanda Nancy Charlie 992. This aged, overweight, Caucasian female, or at least she appears to be Caucasian, she's going to be committed. She's going to prison. It's P.O.C, okay? She brings her big face to gang stalk, and she's going to not only be humiliated, she is going to prison, and that's also going to be humiliating. She's doing so with Stater Brothers, and I'm going to prosecute Stater Brothers for providing a forum to share in criminal activity in furtherance of taking my life. The government's engaging in that as this third party comes and commits what is the federal RICO case against the government. That's engaging in what is providing a place for demons to come and engage in gang stalking and then go back home. She's going to prison. She's a serial stalker, and she does so at the venue of Stater Brothers at 646 West Holt Boulevard. And as she goes to her vehicle and puts her groceries that she purchased, which is a criminal conduct, documented on surveillance cameras, documented while they're at work, gang stalking, documented while I'm outside capturing stalking by the state, as she walks to her vehicle and turns on her vehicle lights, you hear the entity stalking by plane. Okay, this is the government that's threatening you while maintaining those that are serially stalking you. They engaged in battering you, or you are documenting them, and then after you document, the demons are very triggered, and so they'll be there every day. They'll start following you around, traditionally stalking. Like that person will follow you around from place to place. You're dealing with a spirit that's mentally ill and is very triggered when basically you can see the invisible. That person will begin following you around, and I've documented that. This is what she's doing by coming to the grocery store, and you're doing so as an entity. You know exactly when I'm coming to the grocery store. You know when my panties are down. You want to be in the building while I'm nude. You want to pace all around me while my vagina is exposed. You want to touch me with light. You want to stalk me with the government while you are also obsessed with me, and that's your means of getting attention from me while you're conspiring in my murder. She's going to prison. All right, this is P.O.C. It's currently 6:57 a.m. Serial stalkers like, again, license plate 8 Yolanda Nancy Charlie 992 are subject to federal prison. These are demons that commit egregious acts of murder, making you oatmeal, baking you an apple pie and putting arsenic in it, taking your life and then going to the hospital. And these are the type of people that you never suspect. These are the type of people that are the closest to you. These are serial killers that dwell amongst us, and they act with the state. And then you're talking about the one that's also the same one. I'm just giving you a hypothetical regarding the wicked who are gang stalking with no criminal record. Okay? They're engaging in maniacal conduct, psychopathic, malicious behavior, and it's criminal. And the entity's doing that while they are being documented. The fact that they're still doing so while they're being documented is letting you know what they are capable of. Okay, the entity's engaging in this, and there's no anonymity. I've got your identity. You're within the pattern of conduct. What is it that you're getting out of it? They are mentally ill. Okay, the entity's engaging in that pattern of conduct with regard to the state that's being federally prosecuted. All of this is serving to disband the Ontario Police. All of this is serving for the federal prosecution of terrorist leader Mike LORENZ. Okay, this is gang violence that the Ontario Police Department lead in. All right, this is the P.O.C. Again, license 8 Yolanda Nancy Charlie 992 is engaging in conduct that the government is sponsoring, that the government is relying on, and this is what the entity is doing while it is, by the way, acting with impunity because these are adult-sized, demon-possessed children who commit egregious criminal acts, deranged and perverted sexual crimes, while they are engaging in what is public corruption. And the response of mentally ill criminals like this is to engage in more of it. And this is the spirit of Satan that is covering a people. And so, in other words, you need to know that the direct correlation of what's going on here is demon possession manifesting into serious, egregious, unfathomable, unprecedented criminal activity. And it is the P.O.C. It's currently 6:59 a.m. Nine Larry Mary Xavier 249, and an ongoing surveillance by, again, the same third party while engaging in psychopathic pacing with the airport. This is what the third party in the black vehicle in front of Habit was doing last night while the airport was doing the same thing, psychopathic pacing, plane after plane after plane. This is the conduct of the entity. And as I'm documenting a serial stalker and you engage in what is communicating a threat with the government that will engage in this conduct, the Ontario police, for example, will pull up or just drive through. The entity is doing that with regard to trying to engage in some execution of psychological torture when you're playing with your own mind because you're going to prison. But that's the way that the system's designed. The entity will engage in what is commencing to stalk in a helicopter while you document a gang stalker. You're going to federal prison. It's on video. The entity engages in what is stalking by commercial plane as you document the people of the state. That's the entity engaging in concerted conduct because the government's supposed to be the big bad wolf. And when the wolf is coming out, they start cowering and running. That's what happens when the wolf comes out and I'm documenting. Okay, but the way that the system is designed, this is how they are causing American citizens to cower. They're traumatizing them. They're torturing them. They're threatening them. They're murdering and kidnapping them. They're ganging up on them. You're going to prison. You're going to be ganged up on by federal law. And I am not joking about that because this is a disgusting system of a bunch of cowards. They're a bunch of cowards. So when you're looking at all of the cowardice with regard to these tactics that you employ, there's a federal response for every single last one of them. Okay, this is the entity that is engaging in that pattern of conduct together. You want to use your planes and your helicopters. I just want to be clear, it's because you're a punk. You feel powerful because you have to pull out a helicopter against me? Oh, that's because you're scared. And you should be. You should be. Because I'm letting you know the sentence right now before you step in court in handcuffs. And I'm not playing. 7 Paul George Xavier 933. That's a third party engaging in surveillance in the parking lot with the Ontario International Airport has been remaining here. And this is what I documented last night. And that third party threatens me with the government that utilizes commercial planes as a means of threatening you. And that's via podcast. And I stated right then and there that third party is going to prison. 9XEM 734. Edward Larry 91 Kelly 12. That's a paper plate. License plate. Paul, Uncle, Mary, Apple, Sam, 17. P.O.C. That's plain activity. They're all stalking. Alrighty. It is currently, by the way, while the entity is monitoring, the entity is monitoring what you're doing on your devices. Okay, so your devices, they're demonic. So they're designed with regard to satanic features. That's how I'll put it. It's the combination of what are physical things. You know, you build a cell phone with metal and plastic and you design it. It's a device, but it's actually a demonic means of what is this surveillance system. Its operation, its presence, its ongoing use in this environment. Also, it is demonic. It is directly related to what the demon possessed are aware of. They don't have to look at your device. They know what's going on your device. And they've demonstrated this knowledge within the pattern of conduct. They're engaging in what is satanic behavior, and it's directly informing you about things such as artificial intelligence. Okay, artificial intelligence is the product of monitoring. It is demonic, and it is relevant. It's directly related to what I'm telling you about these devices that are under surveillance and that the demon possessed are connected to. Their demon possession is directly connected to these devices, the technology that we're using, that the government, especially in California, has made everyone reliant upon. And that's something that you need to be aware of. So I do want to speak to that. The entities engaging in what is monitoring on devices, and these devices that we use that they are selling now, technology is intentionally made obsolete in order for us to rely on what is increasingly satanic as you purchase it, as you use it, as you keep it on your person, as you keep it in your home. And it is a means of this satanic spirit. And this is, I'm just letting you know the information. So I'm just going to convey the message to you. But the devices themselves, the phone itself, okay? In the same way that I am telling you and I'm showing you, I've already proven to you the presence of Satan, which you are deducing in an environment. The presence of Satan is relevant to the devices that we are using, okay? And the demon possessed are looking at them. They're always staring at them. They're studying them. The device itself is demonic. And that's what they're doing when they're gang stalking, okay? They're also engaging in surveillance of everything on the internet. And so you're going to be we're able to prosecute the demonic, the demon possessed, the entity, this cult, that by existing law and law that's going to come into existence because you are prosecuting what you can prove. Okay, so this is not going to be a prosecution. This is all monitoring. This audible activity. You're not going to prosecute for, and I'm not interested in prosecuting you because you're a demon, but because you are a demon, you're engaging in a very specific pattern of conduct, and it becomes relevant that you're a demon because your demonic behavior is mentally ill. It's deranged. It's a threat to the national security, to American citizens, and that's how you're going to use that information, and it's perfectly constitutional, and the entity has no defense. Oh, there's no defense when they're providing this wealth of evidence. There's no controversy here, all right? There's no question here. And there's also no question regarding the malice behind this entity. The entity has solidified and confirmed its own demise. I could not make it up if I wanted to. It is the Lord's will that Satan be exposed. And exposed is exactly what Satan is. And when Satan is exposed, this is the spirit of a psychopath that's acting out in people. When Satan is exposed, Satan exposes the psychopath that he has always been. But he likes to present as an angel of light. Okay, you have to carve beneath. Satan is triggered when you do not believe that illusion. Oh, no, Satan, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I'm going to document you. I'm going to show you to be who you are. And there's that psychopath right there, and it was there the whole time. Okay? That's what you're dealing with. Alrighty, serial killers that have never been convicted. Serial killers, they kill their husbands, they kill their parents, they kill their children. And they're the ones that are leading and putting together their funerals. They are the ones crying the hardest. They are the ones grieving the most. They're the ones talking about how they are they're demons, they're gang stalking me, and they are engaging in violence against other people. The wicked. Okay, this is the entity, and that's what you're aware of. I'm just giving you an example of the ways in which this evil is manifesting in the lives of those. Only demons are gang stalking. Only demons are monitoring. Okay, this is P.O.C. All right, it is currently, when you're listening to Plain Activity, it's 7:11 a.m. under the fake sun at the Ontario Village Shopping Center. This is P.O.C. The entity is monitoring while I am publishing the video of them stalking, and I'm referring to the serial stalker who is subject to federal prison, license 8 Yolanda Nancy Charlie 992. It is going to be posted on X, and all of my evidence from yesterday on President's Day, when this government on President's Day is engaging in unpatriotic criminal conduct, un-American criminal activity with the American public, all right? And I'm using that in a facetious manner because no gang stalker is an American, okay? These are terms that actually have significance and meanings, okay? But for purposes of you understanding what it is that I'm referring to, I use these terms. But in reality, in actuality, you are not an American. When you are engaging in domestic terrorism, we are supposed to be distinct from the rest of the world in that. We're supposed to be the leader. We are the ones that do not negotiate with terrorists, and we have a country full of them. In fact, it's the very leaders themselves of what is exposed as a cult. The U.S. government is nothing other than a cult. Satanic practices. Sacrifices to get in. Sacrifices in order to get out. All right, but nobody wants to get out. You get out through dying. You get out through death. You get out through what is losing something, up to and including your life. But these demons aren't seeking to get out, and they're engaging in criminal conduct, and they do so in service of Satan. That's a cult. It is a cult. All right, and this is their cult conduct. All right, and this is how Satan is controlling the nations around the globe. Okay, to be honest with you, but it's 7:12 a.m. I'm going to digress. This is P.O.C. The people of the state, gang stalking at 417 C Street. Heavily documented gang stalking me with the Ontario Police at nightfall, including with the people of the state at 218 C Street. She resides there, gang stalking me. She follows me through the hood, and doing so at 417 C Street. Who is gang stalking me now under the fake sun? License 7 Uncle Henry Nancy 438 with minor children in the back seat. That's a female driving that white Tahoe. That's P.O.C. This is the entity that's threatening your life when you are facing a vehicle that's a means of what is light activity, when the entity is stalking you, in other words, and stalking is shown through the image that I'm taking. The fake sun is glaring. This is a stalker that's facing you, aiming light towards you. That's that nefarious threatening, demented, maniacal, obsessed stalker. All of that is personified. All of that is captured with regard to the gang stalker. All right, and the entity's doing this at the very heavily documented 417 C Street. This is not good for these folks, but it is good for the country that gang stalkers, serial stalkers, meaning where I'm subject to ongoing terrorism. Every time I walk in the hood, I'm subject to terrorism by you. That means everybody in the building needs to be going to prison. That's what that means. I'm documenting them again. 7 Jerry Edward Mary 130. 5 Wendy Larry Paul 658. 7 Paul Nancy Uncle 350. And pay attention, while they're gang stalking me, the entity's engaged in an outright departure from the son remaining over Stater Brothers. Okay, for it to be over Stater Brothers until after 10 o'clock in the morning, but not when I leave Stater Brothers now. And the people of the state at 417 C Street are gang stalking me, threatening me, including with their demon-possessed children. License 4 Nancy 0 Yolanda 062. 4 David Nancy Victor 008. And what is the government that's gang stalking with the people doing for the third parties who are being documented? Are we erasing and forgetting and separating what we just documented? What the entity's doing? No, pray tell. Why would you do that? That's not how any competent investigation goes. It is the pattern of conduct. You are already convicted. License 9 Larry Nancy Mary 094. 9 Victor Apple Larry 980. 9 Uncle Charlie Uncle 343. This is P.O.C. at 7:30 a.m. 8 Zebra Apple Edward 082. Sandy Nancy David George, Uncle Yolanda, as in Sand Guy, SNDGUY. I believe I documented this gang stalker who's subject to federal prison for engaging in what is assault with a deadly weapon, using both the vehicle and the knife in this parking lot, and he is gang stalking. License 7 Yolanda Paul Zebra 596. Still gang stalking. While you've been prosecuted already for what is assault and battery, gang stalking me with this violent demon that's wielding a knife and trying to run me over and running over my property, damaging my property, by the way, and doing so while they're all in relevant position, monitoring on behalf of the government that's engaged in psychopathic pacing by planes after plane after plane over that parking lot. That's the government that's gang stalking me while the people of the state are pulling knives, engaging in what is assault with deadly weapons with their vehicles, engaging in communicating threats to take your life. That's what's stalking in concert with the government, and you are absolutely going to be federally prosecuted for crossing path gang stalking in any manner, like they are at Stater Brothers, like they are where they live, like this third party is in the parking lot. And this is to be confirmed by the evidence, but he's in that same parking lot, and the entity is for the most part, those same demons are gang stalking while they're living in their cars in that parking lot. They were all in their cars gang stalking while that entity engaged in what is group conduct. You're all under the fake sun gang stalking. You all think it's funny together when you're engaging in what is targeting somebody. I want you to all keep that same sense of humor when you're all going to prison for engaging in what is assault with a deadly weapon as a group as well. All right, the group that gang stalks together, the group that prays together, PREYS, is the group that's going to federal prison together. That's how that works. License plate. The entity that's gang stalking is doing so while they are maintaining an ongoing ongoing joint, collective, cooperative presence in my path. License 912, Henry, Indiana, Henry. All right, this is P.O.C. at 7:33 a.m. The people of the state at 218 C Street are gang stalking in the same manner while another third party is doing the exact same thing that the third party is typically doing in her white SUV. And this is the entity that's playing games with its own life, with its own liberty. So engaging in surveillance in front of 218 C Street, crossing path, 7 Yolanda Paul Zebra 596. That's the same third party who's very likely documented already engaging in what is assault with a deadly weapon, is still gang stalking. That's going to be relevant in federal court. Remember, they're stalking while they're keeping the evidence under surveillance. License 9 Jerry Indiana Wendy 992, stalking with third party 9 Paul Zebra Frank 062. and pay attention to the play activity, and license 8 Jerry David Charlie 516 gang stalking with third party license plate 9 Paul Zebra Frank 062. This is the demon that engaged in what is communicating a threat to call the gang members of the Ontario Police Department while the Ontario Police are stalking right now. The audible activity is plain activity. The audible activity on that date was her voice stating, I'm going to call the police while you're stalking. You're going to be committed with that same audible activity. This is the demon, the puppet of Satan that was following me all around the block. Like I stated, as I document demons who are psychotic, they start following me around. She's gang stalking right now while she has demons behind her vehicle and in front of her vehicle and in the sky space gang stalking. She's going to prison all the same. These are the demons that play these stupid games, and you know what their rewards are? Prison. Prison. All right, I documented 9JIW992 already before. All right, and this is a third party engaging in surveillance in front of the venue 218 C Street. This is an entity that's engaging what is ongoing methods of threatening. Oh, you're being documented. You're going to be prosecuted. You're going to prison. This third party is going to prison for X, Y, and Z. So they all come to the same venue and engage in the same conduct. And they're an entity. The third party that is indeed going to prison is still engaging in that conduct while third parties engage in that together as one. And this is what gang members who are, again, intellectually inferior, all right, who are collectively flunkies, who are hostile because their demon possession and their criminal activity is simultaneously exposed, these are the tactics that they engage in. All right, well, guess who is stalking? The airport. License 9JIW992, ongoing criminal obstruction of justice. That's an additional charge they're getting. License 8 Jerry David Charlie 516, obstruction of justice. That's an additional charge they're getting while they come to 218 C Street to communicate a threat. And the third party that resides here, gang stalking, engaging in criminal summoning, stalking the same with the entity that's engaged in psychopathic pacing. For example, it's UPS that's doing cartwheels over this venue while they're doing the same thing at the Stater Brothers, okay? So I just want to be clear, the entity goes out of its way to do that. This demon is on video following me all around under the fake sun. You already know what's here. You already know that it sets here. I'm documenting the entity stalking with impossible light here. You're listening to the entity stalking, maintaining the public nuisance of the train while I'm standing here. And this is the entity that is indeed gang stalking. That's why the gang members came to her house to surround her car while they're gang stalking. She's going to prison and they're both catching charges for obstruction. 9JIW992, 8JDC516. They're additional charges. This is the entity that's engaged in it. This is the type of mentally ill, self-destructive conduct of demons who are a threat to the public. They have interest in things that they're concerned about. They have children. They have jobs. They have need to maintain employment. They have need to maintain that check that they're getting from the government. They have need to maintain what is a appropriate level of reputation with regard to even maintaining an ability to provide for themselves and their household. And I'm coming for all of that under federal law. Okay, while you engage in playing very silly games and terrorizing American citizens in ways that you're not going to do so. But this is the entity, this is why I'm documenting it, because this is exactly what federal law is going to address. Gang violence. License 7MUE916, M760 Henry 0. Documented that third party before. All right, these are the demons that are joining in. Listen to the train activity. Ongoing train activity, ongoing train activity, ongoing train activity, pacing, 7BNJ104. These are demons that are stalking, and they're not accomplishing anything. What they're accomplishing is the federal laws to deal with the terrorists in the U.S., okay? Lining up around the terrorist she is going to prison, child. She's going to prison. And all the gang members are gang stalking right along with her. And this is relevant evidence regarding the federal government, federal law that is going to make an example out of these third parties while they engage in criminal activity, while they're monitoring the evidence. That includes UPS, that includes the airport, that includes the board, the executive team, that includes the Ontario Police. This is a whole entity that's going to be made an example of. While the people of the state are lining up outside of this third party's home, going into the dentist kid's office, they're already being prosecuted. I don't have to name that. You're being prosecuted. You go into wherever you want because this entire city is prosecuted under the fake sun. They're engaging in this conduct with regard to a third party that has no hope, and none of them do. This is the type of conduct that they engage in, though. The ordinary target individual that's being confronted with demons who are psychotic, Ganging up on them in silence, ganging up on them even with violent speech, ganging up on them with the government that's stalking them by planes and helicopters and threatening to call the police, calling the police on them while they're ganging up, engaging in psychological torture. This is the entity that's catching additional charges. That's what this is from. This is what this is about, okay? License 9JIW 992, license 8JDC 516. Engaging in what is ongoing threatening conduct with the demons that are engaging in that pattern of conduct. And I'm going to document Dental Kids Club. I've already documented them gang stalking with the Ontario Police under the fake sun. They're doing so now. They're doing so with the Ontario Police. They're doing so with regard to a history of documenting. These are demons that are engaging in what is the use of a license to engage in dentistry. You're not keeping that, just so that you 9 LOS 168. An assistant, you're not keeping that. So this is what I'm saying. They are sacrificing their own. The entirety of what you are doing and what you represent and what you're utilizing, you're losing at. So this is the entity that's engaging in that. Dental Kids, there are people, DDS, you need your licensure, you're not keeping it. You need your certification to be a dental assistant. You're not keeping that. My evidence is coming directly for that. You are a threat to the public while you're gang stalking and while you're using any sort of means to terrorize another American citizen, like reporting to the office where you're engaging in that pattern of conduct. And you're doing the exact same thing. Well, then you get out and go into that office. That office is a facilitating venue where the government's criminal activity is going to directly rebut what is your unpersuasive feign of ignorance. And I don't know the targeted individual, and I have no idea. And all I did was get out my car. You're going to be prosecuted. P.O.C. I have the entity gang stalking me under the fake sun right here at this venue from sunrise until sunset, including at the Dental Kids office. License 9 Larry 0 Sam 168. Psychopathic pacing, targeting by the airport and targeting by the people around 218 C Street. While the entity has been listening to me repeatedly identify this facilitating venue where gang violence is underway. Gang violence that presents the federal government with full jurisdiction to raid this shack. License 8 Jerry David Charlie 516 again. And license 9 Jerry Indiana Wendy 992. This is literally the gang violence while the entity entertains it at her home. This is relevant to the audible activity that she's committing, providing on video. Speaking to, you're going to call the police while you're engaging in gang violence and you're facilitating venue, just like the OVITT Family Community Library, is the crime scene, okay? That's the entity that's engaging in that together, and that is with third party who is going to prison. She's following me around in the hood, gang stalking me with the Ontario Police. She's going to federal prison, and her gang members that are gang stalking at her facilitating venue are joining in additional federal charges, okay? This is obstruction. This is ongoing psychological torture. This is harassment, and it's a threat while the entity engaged in criminal summoning of the Ontario Police, especially when you're documenting, oh, you're going to beat me up, or you're going to hurt me, you're going to damage my property. This is the pattern of conduct of these demons that are ganging up at 218 C Street. That's an ongoing threat. While the entity is stalking by planes, that's an ongoing threat. They're catching additional charges while they want to participate and help this demon who's going to prison. P.O.C. License 9 LOS 168, and it's currently, by the way, it's currently 7:43 a.m. Dental Kids Club. Dental Kids Club is located at, looks like suite number 100, 210. Yeah, it's right here off of, 212, because her address is 218. So this is 212 and 210 C Street. Dental Kids is a dentistry office where they're engaging in state surveillance. That's why the airport is stalking right here. And you are engaging in what is jeopardizing, what is not jeopardizing, but you're going to lose it. You're engaging in what is dentistry as a guise for what is a fraudulent business, a fraudulent practice, and you're not going to keep that license. Just like any gang stalking attorney, any gang stalking lawyer, even though a dentist, you're not an MD, but I just want to be clear. But any gang stalking, a registered nurse, any gang stalking construction worker, you're losing that license, you're losing that business license, whatever you're using to engage in the state's pattern of conduct, you're losing it. This is the entity that's engaging in that, and 9 LOS 168 is engaging what is gang stalking me and then going into this business plaza over here, engaging the pattern of conduct. That's the pattern of conduct with regard to the entity that's not engaging in any sort of response. This is what the demons do. This is what losers do when they don't have anything else. So all we know to do as demons is to engage in that, which is the reason why you're in the circumstance you're in now. All right, deportation, loss of custody of children, loss of guardianship and access to them. You can't even be alone with them. This is what's going to happen. You're going to be documented and identified as a terrorist. That's going to change the prospects of your life forever. You will not be getting terrorism expunged off your record after any amount of time. You're talking about what is the inability, to get past a criminal background check. And you're talking about what's going to have an inevitable effect on your ability to take care of yourself, pay for and your well-being, and that's because of that criminal record. That's because of the identification as a terrorist. This is on the books in the United States. This is going to be the case now because the U.S. government is indeed a terrorist and is doing so with the population. And that's also going to change the trajectory of this economy because it's going to be a drastic change. You're engaging in what is gang stalking as a registered nurse now, making about $75,000 a year. You won't be doing that. You will never be in any sort of nursing. You'll be barred from it, in fact. You're barred from the medical field, any area of it, and you're losing that license as a registered nurse. And then you're going to have a problem getting a job at the grocery store because of that criminal record. Unless they're like Stater Brothers, who, at his own discretion, they're engaged in gang stalking, so you may not have a problem getting hired on amongst the gang stalking business. But that's if it survives after I am done prosecuting these businesses. This is going to change the landscape. It's going to change the way in which we're operating in this country because of the operation of laws and the ways in which you're already looking at what's going on with the way the government is being ran. I'm not naming any names. I'm not getting into politics, but it's going to change. It's going to change financially. It's going to change with regard to what you have the ability to access and what you're able to do. And you have those that are currently feeling as though they're quote unquote stable, and they're going to be very unstable. They're going literally to homelessness. And this is not speaking and hoping. This is the reality, because you're engaging in this now. You took time out of your day to gang stalk me, and I'm going to prosecute you tomorrow, and it's going to have a permanent effect on the rest of your life. And this is an entity that's engaged in that. This is that pettiness, that childlike conduct. That's also a serial killer. And there are necessary federal repercussions for that, repercussions that they are not going to be able to avoid, and that's justice. Okay, and if you keep it up, you're going to prison. That's the pattern of conduct. License plate 8 Sam Zebra 0560. This is the P.O.C. All right, children that want to engage in gang stalking, they're going to grow up really quickly, even if it's within the confines of a federal cell. All right, but they're going to grow up when they find out and they experience the consequences, and you're going to determine it's actually not worth it. It's not worth it at all. It's not worth it at all. This is P.O.C. and it is currently 7:47 a.m. The entity that you can hear in the background, all of that plane activity is ongoing evidence. My evidence is captured and published on social media regarding the importance of exposing the United States government. And to make unprecedented allegations is that which is fully proven in front of the whole world. And that's the importance about doing it on social media. You are also, by necessity, forced to publish this investigation, enforcing your constitutional human rights on the internet, because the government itself is the criminal. The criminal that's engaging in criminal activity in every courtroom, in every courthouse, with regard to every level of government, local, state, and federal. It is by necessity that, speaking to what is the exclusive resource of an American citizen, there is no other forum where you can get justice, and you have to expose it everywhere to everyone, which is on the internet, in order to also protect your life. And this is a matter of evidence, not just common sense, because I am documenting. I've already prosecuted the court system, the civil and the criminal court system, that has sought to evade service of process in order to complete what is the criminal objective of murder. That's why Thomas Garza and the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, that's the state of California, criminally, that wasn't a civil matter, that was a criminal act, pursuant to criminal activity. They were literally gang stalking at the San Bernardino courthouse. But not only that, it's a criminal act because it's facilitating the P.O.C. If you are in any way facilitating, enabling, aiding, furthering this criminal pattern of conduct, including by evading service of process, that is a criminal act. It's a federal offense. It's an act of terrorism. And they did that while I am still subject to the pattern of conduct. This is making necessary publishing the evidence against the government on the internet, where the government's engaging in surveillance, with the Ontario Police Department, the City of Ontario, have already proven. They're going to federal prison. The case is already complete. They have provided evidence against Thomas Garza, against Lisa Rogan, against the Red Cucamonga Superior Court, against the state of California, against every department that committed kidnapping and is the basis of disbanding. They provided evidence supporting that. The very policies and the very things that I said are going to happen, that's exactly what's going to happen. The entities engaging in this and putting it on the internet is absolutely necessary with regard to the unprecedented bases of the policies that I advocate, based on the crime of the criminal, the identity of the criminal. It's the government itself, with the population at that. It would be egregious enough if it was just the Ontario Police Department. and the Ontario Police Department are stalking and monitoring an American citizen. But the Ontario Police Department is vicariously acting through the masses. License 9, Nancy Wendy George 927. License 6, Bob Edward Robert 254. License 8, Yolanda Thomas Sam 207. 9, Paul Charlie Edward 623. 9, Henry George Mary 844. 6, Zebra Xavier Kelly 481. The Ontario Police Department is acting vicariously through every single last one, including at third-party facilitating venue 218 C Street, where these gang members are engaging in gang violence at that facilitating venue. And guess what the reward is? You're going to prison. You're going to prison. But I'm making my legal argument, understanding the necessity of putting it on the internet, which is also proving that this entity is engaging in surveillance online. There is no warrant or probable cause. There is no legitimate interest. Everything on the internet is published with regard to an investigation, and it's proving also, it has proven, and the entity itself, while targeting me, you're so focused on my vagina, you didn't realize that you're telling your secrets that you are in fact engaged in surveillance on the internet. And that's why your gang stalking me in relevant position is simultaneous coinciding with what I'm publishing on the internet, what I'm doing online, on my devices, where you need a warrant and a probable cause to search my phone, but that's an illusion while you're engaging in surveillance, because you don't have to touch my phone to know what's going on in my phone. These demons are engaging in the pattern of conduct, and it's letting you know about what's going on in this country. And I'm the one that they have failed in sacrificing. I'm the one that's reporting on it. I'm the one that's going to enforce my rights. And I am the one that is establishing precedent to prosecute on behalf of any American citizen that this United States government, this cult, no longer can secretly target anyone. And these are the laws. These are the ways in which they shall be bound on earth with regard to targeting an American citizen, where they don't even have authority. Because let's be honest, this is Satan. Satan has no authority. That's why he's being prosecuted. This is a physical manifestation regarding a spiritual reality. You have no authority. And as you exercise fictitious authority, be prepared for the consequences, because they are severe. You have no authority. This is P.O.C. It is currently 7:52 a.m. All right, gang stalking is both Wells Fargo and the third party that is utilizing Wells Fargo as a means of stalking me. On behalf of the state, 9 Barry Kelly Henry 863 and Wells Fargo at 240 North Euclid Avenue. This is at 7:53 a.m. The demon with the blue hair and the black coat, communication device in hand, is on surveillance cameras. This is P.O.C. Back at the Ontario Town Square, east of the Stater Brothers, where the exact same elevation and noise level is underway. And the third party that is gang stalking on the surveillance cameras at Wells Fargo is doing so on behalf of this government. That's a federal case for conspiracy to murder. She's gang stalking and doing so with Wells Fargo, who is also gang stalking. Wells Fargo is intentionally and knowingly facilitating surveillance at the venue, which is what it is. It's not private property. It's not closed down. It's not under any circumstances ceasing to engage in the criminal pattern of conduct. Stalking as a venue is not limited to the business hours. And this is the entity that is stalking as the government and is serving for what of prosecuting the people. Wells Fargo represents the people of the state, and so does this demon with blue hair and the black coat, holding the keys with the dinosaur, green dinosaur on her keychain. She's standing right under the camera at Wells Fargo at 240 North Euclid Avenue. She is stalking me on behalf of the government that is stalking east of the Stater Brothers, where they're engaged in the same elevation, feigning a takeoff at Bonita as opposed to feigning a takeoff over the Ontario Town Square, and they're doing so while I am east of that location. That's the pattern of conduct. Okay, and that's what they were doing at 218 C Street. Engaging in cartwheels, UPS gang stalking. The entity is engaging in what is plane after plane at 218 C Street, while the gang members group up at 218 C Street, where that defendant is going to prison. And they are all as psychotic as that third party. They share the pattern of conduct. The pattern of conduct is deranged. The pattern of conduct is only underway by those who are demon possessed. Demon possession is that which is directly affecting your behavior. Your behavior is mentally ill. Your behavior is a threat to the public. This is the entity that will be simultaneously diagnosed for severe mental instability. It's psychopathic, antisocial in nature, all right? And it's also with regard to what is criminal activity, terrorism, gang violence. They are compelled to target people in a manner that's not supposed to be identified, because they think that they're so they're not magical, they're demon possessed. Okay, that's why if they were so magical, they would have recalibrated, they would have adjusted to my documentation. They would have been stealth. They would have been clever, okay? They would have been a little more, they would have been less ostentatious, if you will. They would have been a little more surreptitious with they're not. They're stalkers, they're sloppy, they're disorganized. They have no methods. They engage in, all they do is engage in bullying. They call everybody's a B. They cuss, they're thugs. That's all they are. They're a bunch of gang members. They're low-life thugs. They're frauds. They're liars, okay? They're actors, and then they're embarrassed. So they engage in attacking in response. No intellect, okay? No plan, no scheme. It's just stalking. Raw, unadulterated stalking, gang violence, lawlessness. And that's what fuels the government. It dresses itself up in a nice button down and a suit and calls itself some sort of important position. That's the same demon-possessed thug calling itself a public official in office. It's Satan. It's Satan. It's the same spirit. The one that's out here that's collecting welfare, gang stalking me in their little buckets, or thinking that they're a step up while they're driving a 2026 Mustang. Okay, because on their level, that is making it while they're gang stalking. All right, or you're living in the suburbs. You're living in the south side of San Diego. All right, and you've got your nice little house, but you're still gang stalking me. All right, you go to your KKK meetings while you are obsessively stalking a black woman at the same time. All right, but you don't intellectually entertain, you don't consciously entertain, mentally address that inherent conflict. You're a demon-possessed gang stalker, all right? Obsessed with a black woman in the physical. But you know what it is? That's a demon that's obsessed with that which you are inferior to me spiritually. They're demons. They're cockroaches. This is an entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct. Satan doesn't have an identity or a position. I've shown you who Satan is. Satan is the mayor in Ontario. Satan is the chief of so-called police. I told you he's not a chief of police. He's the chief of vagina monitors. Satan is the fire chief. Satan is the manager at every business. Satan is the employees, staff. Satan is the company and all the employees. Satan is the city library, the director of the library, and all of them that are sitting around about academia and reading and encouraging literacy. They're all cockroaches. They're all demons. They're all doing all of that under the fake sun. They're all wannabes. They're all fakers. And when you go behind that veil, that's when you see them show their fangs. That's when they're engaging in what they actually are. Okay, and that's what my evidence shows. Subject to ongoing violence and abuse by this entity. While I'm merely diplomatically, okay? Quite diplomatically if I don't say so myself. Okay, now because you're not going to point the finger at the one that's defending themselves when you are the one that shouldn't be stalking me in the first place. So you don't like how I describe you? Oh, well, maybe you shouldn't be stalking me. Maybe you should get out of my panties. Maybe you should mind your business and you wouldn't be embarrassed when you come around looking tacky and you're gang stalking me. I don't care about your feelings. I'm not here for that. This is an entity that's engaged in the pattern of conduct, and I'm supposed to be complimentary to you while you threaten my life? No, I'm here to prosecute you, and I'm going to make sure you regret it for the rest of your life. However much long that is, and that everyone else sees the example that you have been made of. That you have been made. And I want to be clear, this is an entity that's engaging in that. This is Satan. I do not mess around with Satan. Satan is an enemy. I see this enemy that's operating over a people. We are not friends. And in the courtroom, we are adversarial. You don't understand that relationship? This is the courtroom right here. I'm not here to play nice. I'm here advocating because they do this to people that can't speak for themselves. They're cowards and they're punks. I have no respect for that. I have no respect for that at all. It's disgusting to me. It makes me want to spit, and I think spitting is one of the most grotesque things that you could do. Just so that you can understand how disgusted I am. It makes me want to spit. These are cowards. For you to dress up like a police officer, you take that oath, you go through all this training, you wear all this equipment, and you're nothing but a cockroach. You're sitting around stalking you want to look so important on the outside, but actually all you're doing is stalking me all day long. You're sitting up thinking about me when you're crawling into that, pouring gas into that helicopter. And I'm being humorous right now, however you fuel up a helicopter. But while they're putting fuel, you know what they're thinking about? Erica Lorraine Spencer. I'm about to go fly in circles around. I'm putting my diaper on, and I'm going to go fly over her for about 35 minutes on a helicopter. That's what they're doing, literally. And you're on the contrary. Okay, the contrast to that is you want to appear as one thing. This is Satan. This is what Satan is. This is what Satan does. This is the business of Satan. Selling you a representative. Okay? And it's criminal conduct. And it's particularly disgusting to me because I have a personal disdain for those that want to target people that they assume. So you're sitting out looking for victims. You're looking for people that you know, you're certain, you're confident that you can get over on, that you can get away with targeting. You're a monster. And then you sit up listening to me, the one who you have we are not on the same level. You cannot contend with me. You have no authority to approach me. It is to your own demise, and you're still doing it because you are, in fact, suicidal and unintelligent. You can't even stop yourself because you are an animal. You're demons. You're abiding in death. You're in bondage. You're blind. You're bound. That's why you're doing it. But moreover, this is the entity that's engaging, and they concede it. They concede to that. While they're engaged in targeting other people, looking for a predator, as a predator looking for victims. That's what rapists do. That's what serial killers do. They sit around and they study people, they stalk them for a little bit, and then they select who they want. All right, that's the mindset. That's what gang stalkers do. You understand that, right? All right, so you have a bunch of dead people that make a sport out of hunting humans. And then you have those that are of that same entity, and they make money off of the reality of this system. The Truman Show, a movie. They didn't come up with that. They didn't create that. They didn't think that up. They didn't engage in any executive production of that. This is based on what the United States government does. These movies purge. Movies, horror flicks about the government sanctioning violence, killing each other, and no accountability under the law. The government's already doing that. The government's already doing that. This is what gang stalking is an exposure of. That's exactly what the government is doing already. All right, the entities engaging in the pattern of conduct with regard to hunting down and targeting those that it assumes cannot protect themselves. And this is a lesson to learn, okay? So the bully is a coward. The bully is a punk. The bully is the one that is the loudest in the room. But when it comes down to it, with regard to what are you actually built? What are you actually made of? You're talking about nothing other than hot air. Because you're looking at what is an ongoing meltdown. While you are you are supposed to be the elite, right? This is what they call themselves. They call themselves elite. There's nothing elite about vagina monitoring. Let me put it in a proper context. You're monitoring people's genitalia. You're monitoring the genitalia of children. You have an appetite for sexual activity with those under the age of majority. And in your mind, because you're mentally ill, you're a demon, you consider that gaining some spiritual authority, some spiritual ability to have sex with kids. No, that's called pedophilia. You are deceived of the devil. He has made you predators. He has given you an appetite for his violent deeds. He's using you, and I'm prosecuting you. There's nothing elite about that. There's nothing elite about having an organized system of robbing and stealing. Where do you come up with this? Because you've been watching too much Ocean's 11. This is not the movies, however. And there is nothing that is classy or sophisticated or sexy about being a criminal at all. That is Satan. That is selling you things, and you're buying it. They sell it to you with regard to your favorite actor or actress. They sell it to you, making whoredom appear like something that you need to do in order to get to from point A to point B. That's Satan selling things to you, and it's disgusting to me. Okay, it's one thing to consume content. It's another to be ignorant about what it is that you are consuming on a subconscious level and how it is affecting your mindset, how it's conditioning you, the things that you are accepting implicitly, literally through the way you live your life. You've accepted these things. You have come into agreement with it. You find it to be acceptable. You engage in, as the Bible says, scripture, I'm paraphrasing, you not only engage in that which is wicked, but you approve of it. Paraphrasing, you approve of it. Your approval is in the way that you live your life, in the way that you entertain those that engage in that, or those things. Okay, your consumption of that content, and you just thrive on it. You love it. Okay, you're tuning in every week. You're in your mind wishing that it was you. Plotting and gang stalking somebody else and trying to mimic what you see on television. Okay, this is not power. And this is literally, gang stalking is not powerful. It's not the conduct, it's not the act of the powerful. It's the exact opposite. It's the conduct of the weaklings, of the cowards, of the wannabes, of the envious, of the losers, of the demons, of the hellbound. All right, this is the entity that's engaged in this. It is particularly disgusting, so I'm going to digress. However, I just want to state that this is the gang violence that the entity is engaging in. I'm letting you know the pattern of conduct. This demon is stalking. She's in front of me. Gang stalking is not a matter of chronology. It's a government system. The government has you surrounded. What you're doing and everywhere that you're going, where you're going, and you're being monitored. So while you are thinking in your mind, I need to go to the grocery store and go buy some flour because I'm going to bake these oatmeal cookies for my kids and take them to school tomorrow, you're being monitored. They're already ahead of you with regard to being at the store, with regard to whether they're even that product that you want to buy is going to be available. They are already targeting you on the roads and the highways en route, whatever route that you might take. And just like GPS adjusting, if you make another unexpected turn, they are adjusting and they are all around you. This is the entity that's engaging in that. Gang stalking is not relevant to chronology. It's not based on that. And they're literally unintelligent. They're stalking, the definition of it is literally following from place to place. You are following from place to place even when you are at that place before the targeted individual. This is an entity that has a very limited mindset. Very limited. Highly unintelligent. Okay, listen, highly unintelligent. Okay, this is following from place to place is not a matter of chronology. Following from place to place is an entity that is doing so, and doing so while they are maintaining presence and you're being monitored. So where you're going and where you intend to go is a matter of shared information amongst a demonic entity, which is monitoring you, monitoring your thoughts, monitoring you on your devices. If you don't even, well, when you're putting it in your device or where you're texting it, you're thinking about it, you're being monitored. But your phone, your device is literally under surveillance. So everything. Okay? So the entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct, and these are the things that I want you to be cognizant of. And this is not to spread fear. This is not to spread fear, and the reaction of those who are in Christ. You are not fearful of demons who are obsessed with you. They're obsessed with the power that resides in you in Christ Jesus. Okay? And they're delusional with regard to thinking that you're going to succumb to some gay sex ritual. Okay? Because your anus is sore and you're not getting any spiritual authority over me, and you will not. You're a homosexual. It's an abomination. All right, and you're engaging in what is spiritually attacking somebody that has the ability to call down heaven and judge you for your wickedness and your sin. You're not going to overcome me. I'm empowered and saved by the blood covered by the blood of Jesus Christ, filled with the Holy Spirit. And in your wickedness, this doesn't even logically make sense with regard to what is also absurd with regard to spiritual law. In your sin and your wickedness, you're seeking to come against the holy power of the Lord God himself. That makes absolutely no sense. He conquered sin. He conquered sin on the grave. He is alive on the throne right now. Sin and darkness bow to him. And your wicked conduct and your pervertedness and your deception, thinking that if you do this evil thing and you do that evil thing, and then no, that only works against you, the wicked. That only works against you and other homosexuals like you're engaging in gay sex rituals and you're attacking each other, that works against you. Sin does not stand a chance against the power of God. He already conquered the grave. That's what he accomplished on the cross. He is not on the cross anymore. He is alive and well. He is the only one, through the power of God, raised from the dead. It is impossible, okay? So this is an entity. This is not just a matter of faith. This is absolute logic and common sense as well. And this is foolishness while demons are stalking. Foolishness. They're idiots. Abject failure, okay? This is an entity that's engaging in that P.O.C. and they're doing so with regard to a whole false notion regarding power that they never had, authority that you will never have. You cannot, and the Bible specifically says, touch not and do no harm. Not only did they do that, judgment, they're still persisting. And you know what they're persisting toward? Their own demise. You call yourself manifesting? Oh, you're manifesting all right. Oh yeah, you're manifesting. You're manifesting what is rotting in prison. Commitments. That's like soft padded walls and physical restraints, straitjackets, and a battery of tests and multiple physicians to counsel you and get to the core of what is your being. And they understand it. Because there's no illusions anymore. You cannot disregard the spiritual realm. All right, they're aware of the deception of this satanic system that wants you to disregard. Nobody wants to talk about Christ. They don't want you to even talk about the devil. They don't want you to talk about that spiritual realm while they are in the spiritual realm attacking and deceiving you. Oh, they're all in the spiritual realm attacking you. All in your mind. Through the content that you consume, through the people, the demons that are around you, influencing you, hanging out with you, trying to influence you one way or another in your life. Telling you this isn't true and that's not true and I don't believe that, and watching content regarding what are the lies of the devil. And while they want you to not believe and not even address the spiritual realm, they are in that spiritual realm. Oh, they very much believe. And they know that he is real. And they want you to be ignorant while they attack you because you are vulnerable and you're weak. You're spiritually pliable, if you will, while you remain in that stance. That's a position to attack you successfully. All right? I'm going to leave that there. But nonetheless, this is the entity that's engaged in that P.O.C. And it is currently, it's 8:14 a.m. I am at the Ontario Town Square, where it is exactly what I stated. This demon is stalking at the Wells Fargo, and gang stalking is not relevant to what or limited by or probative pertaining to chronology, meaning you were there before me, so you're not stalking. Anyway, and she wasn't there. She's in relevant position, but I've documented this time and time again. The fake sun is remaining over me. I go to the OVITT Family Community Library at 7 a.m. The fake sun is there. I go to the OVITT Family Community Library and I don't arrive until 10 a.m. The fake sun remains over me en route to that venue. 3 hours after, I've already documented it being there at that same venue at 7 in the morning. I go to the OVITT Family Community Library at 1:07 in the afternoon. That fake sun is not over the OVITT Family Community Library. It remains over me en route for the entirety until I arrive at the OVITT Family Community Library at 1:07 p.m., where the gang members of the Ontario Police are on video engaging in what is a malicious iteration of the pattern of conduct. Psychologically torturing and harassing and impliedly threatening while bearing weapons and guns and badges, and that department itself engaging in what is a pattern of kidnapping. That's all manner of a threat, express and implied. And they're doing so in that specific environment that follows me as I arrive at that venue where it's already on a matter of record. It's there at 7 and then it would be there at 1 o'clock, let alone the fact that it wasn't there and it remained over me as I'm en route to that same venue. That's where you're identifying stalking. Stalking that is not based on chronology. It's based on the environment, the malice of this cult that is engaging in criminal surveillance of the United States. And they're demons. They're demon possessed. This is out of hell. And this is Satan's children that are engaging in it. And they do not have permission to do it in secret anymore. They don't. That's why it's being so fully exposed. That's why they are being so thoroughly embarrassed. Because it is over. All right? It is currently, like I stated, it's 8:16 a.m. All right, stalking with the airport. License plate 9 Larry Kelly Larry 953 and 8 Henry Victor Apple 645 And bright view is the one you hear with the leaf blower in the background. The entity is stalking as I'm walking from one side of the town square to the opposite. And these are stalkers that are gang stalking on the roads and the highways at Lemon and C Street. So is license 9 Nancy Yolanda Sam 333. This is P.O.C. These are demons of all races. Old white women stalking me. Old white men stalking me. The developmentally challenged are stalking, while third parties like Anthesis and OPARC bring them around to hobble around me and jerk and speak gibberish and engineer light under the fake sun, which speaks to the abuse and the ongoing threat that those that cannot defend themselves and speak for themselves are subject to while they're still engaged in the pattern of conduct. And it's the same thing, the same analysis regarding children. They bring children around to share in the pattern of conduct and the engineer light. And it's relevant to the abuse that those children are subject to while in the custody of psychopaths that would include them in sexual violence, in psychological torture, in stalking a stranger. Oh, let's go. I'm going to take my baby so she can go and gang stalk the targeted individual because I'm a demon and I'm satiated by targeting and stalking and monitoring a Christ follower. And I want my child to participate in that. Very sick on multiple levels. This is the entity that's engaged in that. While you're gang stalking, you are communicating and exposing and exhibiting to the federal government the basis to remove you from the access to those that are vulnerable, such as children, the elderly, and the invalid, the developmentally challenged. The entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct while I am crossing the street from the square to the Open Family Community Library. And that's just speaking to, again, the population, all races, the equal opportunity that the gang stalking government, this cult, provides to those who are engaged in the P.O.C. All right. The entity only has racial lines with regard to what is making sure that this population remains oppressed, remains conditioned, remains in a posture that is in a position to receive all of the means of deceiving the masses. Okay. There are no racial lines with regard to the satanic, with regard to this demonic entity targeting. Monitoring. There's no racial lines. Satan has no racial lines. It's equal opportunity. Any and everybody. That's what he wants. That's the reality. Racism is a tool. It's a distraction. That is not to say that it is not real. Obviously, it is very real. Racism is real. I am a black woman. I've heard those racial epithets before. But I understand that it's a distraction. That's a spirit. Because how are you going to try to insult me? The reality, let's talk about what's really going on. What's really going on here? You're stalking this black woman. You're obsessed with this black woman. I tell no lies. You're obsessed with me. You're stalking me. And out of your face, you're speaking racial epithets. I'm supposed to be distracted by that? I'm supposed to be confused? That's Satan. Racism is a distraction to separate mankind. All right? It's a barrier. All right? And the entity is engaging in what is stalking me, spending millions of dollars. These white executives, all these old white men, this old money that they're spending on little old me. All right? I'm a little chocolate drop. All right? Serving Christ. I love the Lord. And my brothers and sisters in Christ are of all races as well. And you belong to him, then we are of the same family. We are one in spirit, one in Christ. There are no racial lines. This is an entity, that's Satan. And that's by design. That's by design. It's cult behavior, cult-like behavior. All right? And it's even that which is serving, by the way, it's also accomplished by you being subject to what is unfair treatment. Okay, not people calling you names, but perhaps you've never been called some sort of racial epithet. Perhaps you have never been physically abused by anybody because of your race or something like that. But you may have experienced unfair treatment, some sort of discrimination, something that was really, really unfair to you. And you may be in every regard the best qualified person. I'm just getting to the ways in which the entity seeks to condition you, to harm you, that is a means of conditioning you as well. Believing in the lie regarding racism and its effect on you. Racism is of the devil. It's a spirit. It's a deceptive spirit, and it's a distraction. Okay? And what have I told you when you're paying attention? The demons get louder. They're triggered by the truth that I am speaking. They're triggered by it. Okay? That's the loud plane activity. That's the loud train activity. All right, this is Brightview and City of Ontario gang stalking with their leaf blowers in hand. Whatever they can, they don't want to hear it because it's their reality. These demons are hellbound and they know that. They don't like to hear it. But you're stalking me. And the other part is that they are also hostile while I spread what is directly contradicting the lies that Satan has worked so hard to spread around to the masses, okay? This is undoing the lies, decades and decades of lies. All right, lies that are solidified, giving you false confirmations through the wrong treatment that you have experienced. That doesn't make the lie true. It doesn't. It does not make the lie true. All right, these are the tactics of what are bullies. And this is Satan. That's what Satan does. That's who he is, okay? He cannot be, is not the equal opposite of, is not even close. He is a created being. He is not God. He is not the opposite of God. And that's why he engages in bully tactics, to try to force what is a position that he is manufacturing, engineering, okay? He is not, and he is not also as powerful as God. He is powerful, he's more powerful than human beings, but he is not more powerful than God, and that's why we need Christ Jesus. Aside from the fact that he loves you and he died for your sins so that you would be protected, so that you would know the difference between the truth and the lie. Your faith is what saves you. And in these deceptive days, it's going to become more and more murky, more and more difficult. And that's only for those who do not know Christ, those that are not walking in alignment with what the Word of God has already told us is going to happen. All right, these are the times that we are in. But it is currently 8:37 a.m. The entity is stalking, and doing so with regard to that pattern of conduct and the entity that's gang stalking. There are no racial lines amongst the wicked. That's the reality. It is equal opportunity in the kingdom of darkness. Did you know that? They want you to be racist. They want you to be divided. They want you to be insecure. They want you to be concerned about how you present and how you look. It's a spiritual attack. Okay, this is P.O.C. It's currently 8:38 a.m. This is stalking. And these are cowards that are ducking and dodging, going behind the building. And that loud helicopter activity is demonic. Doing so under the fake sun. There it is right there. I've captured this tons and tons of time at the same venue, stalking under the fake sun. The entity is stalking by helicopter, and that's the entity. Michael LORENZ he has no hope. He has no defense. He's going to be prosecuted for the first time in the United States. He's going to be the first one made an example of regarding terrorism. This is video evidence regarding stalking by the Ontario Police in concert with the people. The City of Ontario is stalking. Light activity, Securitas is stalking, and so is license 9, Bob Charlie Yolanda 489, and that's impunity in its federal prison. All right, the entity is stalking in the path and doing so by helicopter while the entity has the fake sun right here, and that's also how you know that I'm not making up anything. And this is how the target individual that doesn't have any evidence would make an allegation, but you're ignorant about all of the environment, and you're able to identify, okay, this is relevant to the pattern of conduct because you're looking at the crime scene when you're conducting your investigation, and you are estimating the veracity of the statements made about what the government is doing to somebody. And as opposed to, oh, this person is just crazy. That's exactly what the U.S. government wants you to appear as, and it's not. So the entity is amplifying helicopter activity. The loudness of that helicopter activity is speaking to the animosity that Michael LORENZ, the puppets of Satan that are the Ontario Police, harbor. And this is documentation and video I want to capture. 9 Thomas Paul Frank 570 shares in that thread, and that's psychopathic pacing on Euclid. The fake sun is here. Remember just days ago when I'm remaining at the Ontario Village Shopping Center, the coin laundry. And that's how you know that the entity is engaged in the pattern of conduct, and it's pathetic. The mentally ill, the incompetent are going to be removed from positions where they're abusing American citizens and keeping them under surveillance and sexually violating them and then calling themselves police officers. The Ontario Police are stalking in helicopters, and they will have nothing to do with even being in flight anywhere. They're mentally unstable. They're a national security threat. License 7LFG200, stalking with the police. 8 Charlie Thomas Henry 804, stalking with the police. And this fake sun is still here, shining through the doors into the depths. You see how deep this building is? There is no sunlight that's going to crawl on the wall into the depths, into the back of the library. But that's where the mentally ill are stalking right now, by helicopter under a fake sun that's still here after 4 p.m. All right, that's the pattern of conduct. That's the mentally ill that are gang stalking. Okay, this is City of Ontario. Paul Leon's being removed. City of Ontario is pacing all around and stalking with light activity. City of Ontario is a criminal enterprise engaging in surveillance, monitoring with devices, and they're demons. They're under the fake sun in the middle of the afternoon, focusing on this while they're vagina monitoring at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, under the same fake sun. Paul Leon's being removed and prosecuted as a terrorist and funding terrorism and facilitating it, okay? This is P.O.C. While the entity just gang stalking, this is all criminal monitoring, this is all impunity. You're going to analyze it under the law. It's P.O.C. All right, it's currently, like I stated,